Hey, this is the Part of the Culture podcast. I'm here with Ari Rose. It's my first time doing a Zoom. Are you in LA right now?
I am. I'm in LA. It's raining like thunderstorms right now.
It's drizzling out here, so it's not too bad, but it's not thundering out there. How you liking LA, Ari?
I love LA. It was one of those things that I just had to do to get to the next step, and it's working for me. It's been hard, but I love it.
Tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into kind of what we want to talk about today.
Yeah. So, as you guys know, my name's Arie Rose. I'm an author and a speaker. I do a lot of women empowerment events, which is how I really started branding myself. It wasn't something that I had planned for. It's just something that I prayed upon. I couldn't find my purpose. I couldn't figure out what exactly it was that I was here, placed on earth to do. And so I started praying for purpose and clarity, and things just started unraveling in that way. I got laid off from my dream job and fell into depression, which then led me to write my book, Fight the Funk. From there, I decided to take it on a book tour, which turned into my women empowerment events. And there went the motivational speaker was born. It's funny, like just hearing the words right now as I'm telling you this, or letting your listeners hear about it. It's funny because it sounds so easy, and yet, Jesus, the hard sweat and tears and lonely nights that went into becoming who I am today is insane. But social media never shares that. We only share the glitz and the glam.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like you, I actually wrote a book. My first book wasn't written out of like sadness. It was 10 steps to level up in business. It was actually, I was learning how to do email marketing, and it was learning how to build my list. And then people, once they've realized I wrote a book, then I made it a hardcover, and then that kind of started me as like an author. But my second book, I actually went through a bad breakup, and I was super sad. And I was like, I could either go to the bar and just drink myself silly, or I can pour it out in a different way. And that's how my second book was born.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely resonated with me when you spoke about writing a book from a sad place.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you. You're really good. I really like your brand. I actually look up to you in some ways, in a lot of ways.
Thank you.
So I even, before we go on, thank you for coming on the show. You talk about a dream job. You're definitely a dream guest. And so I know we've rubbed shoulders over the years a lot. So I just appreciate this. I just want to say thank you first and foremost.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
What I wanted to talk about, what Ari and I wanted to talk about today, is kind of just building your brand. I just wanted to chime in, but I just want to hear first why it's important to build your brand going into 2020. And then what are 3 things people can really do to build a successful / profitable brand? And I'll just chime in because, even things like this podcast, things like writing books, things like this are all ways to build your brand. So I'm curious to see why you think it's important, and what are 3 tips you could give to the listeners on building a brand?
First and foremost, when you're talking about building a brand, I would say I think a lot of people don't realize that everybody is a brand already. We live in a social media era where we are publicly putting out our lives for display, whether it's Instagram, or you're sharing your thoughts in your mind on Twitter, or you're on Facebook sharing your family portraits or anything like that. We're all a brand. And so if you have a passion or a hobby that you're good at, it's a no-brainer to monetize off of it. Anyone can monetize off of their brand just based upon how much work they're willing to put in.
Yep.
So, my mother loves to bake. She can easily, build her brand as a baker and open up her own bakery shop.
Yeah.
She also loves to do interior design, decorating. She can easily take pictures on social media and make some business cards and brand herself that way and become an interior. You get what I'm trying to say?
No, I understand 1,000%. I actually preach it all the time.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. A lot of people don't realize that they're already a walking brand. You're already a millionaire in the works. It just depends if you can catch that, or if you have the vision for that, or you have the momentum to do that. And it's really important for people to focus on building their brand, because that is what can potentially take you from working a 9 to 5 to living in your dream.
Yes.
Now, there is nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. I love a 9 to 5. And sometimes this entrepreneur journey, boy, let me tell you, I would rather have a 9 to 5 and get a check cut and just be cool.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree 1,000%. I have a 9 to 5 just because of sometimes the wait times that come with my business. So, and you can just focus on adding value without having to worry as much about a check.
Yep.
But I also still build my brand, and I could quit my 9 to 5 if I really wanted to.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Because there's gigs that I take. Sometimes I work, the other day I had an 18-hour day, which is like between production and set and helping cast and do all these other things. It's not a 9 to 5, a corporate job, but it's still a job that cuts me a check.
Yeah.
And just like any other person, the revenue has to continue to come in.
Yes.
And the reason why I continuously have money come in, I continually like to stack, is because then I like to reinvest in myself.
Yes.
I just recently hired on a PR team that's helping me in LA.
Oh,
I got to
wow.
cut them a check every single month. I have a video guy that, helps me with videos, and we're going to start creating new content for 2020. I got to cut him a check for that.
True.
And
I just got a video guy also.
Yeah. And people don't realize that in order for you to build a brand, you have to be willing to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself, save money, prioritize. I've traded in, I talk about this a lot, I've traded in my nights with Hennessy for my mornings with Herbalife.
Yeah.
I've, if you want to get something done, if you want to hire a videographer, if you want to hire a publicist team, I had to let go of my personal trainer so that I could pay my publicist team. But guess what? Now I just got to push myself on these lunges, but I'm going to get this, this exposure where I need to be getting exposure on. So it's about, I'm sorry?
I said, that's huge. I just did a post on Instagram about how most millionaires don't have a TV. And it's not that they don't want to watch TV, but you're speaking on the fact that you do have to sacrifice something. I have no TV because instead of coming home and watching every episode of Netflix, I'm editing my podcast. I'm editing my content. I'm talking to my team. I'm sending out shirt orders to my team, which, is not obviously like I would love to just sit and watch a movie. And I do every now and then I'll watch a movie on my laptop if I have a date or something. But there is a give and take. I drink every now and then, because I bartend. And I'll have a drink sometimes at the end of the night, but it's very rare for me to go out unless I'm on a date or something and just go and drink, because that's more time that I could use towards building a brand that could feed my family and feed my future.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's just prioritizing. It's making time for what you need to make time for, so that you can accomplish the goals that you have. And so, in building a brand, one of the key things that I always say is make sure that you're doing whatever you can possible to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure that you are prioritizing your time wisely to feed that brand.
Okay.
I go back to the beginning of this conversation. I said, if you have the momentum to do it, you can become your own brand.
Yes.
Well, what separates people with 1 million followers, and not the followers translates into money anymore nowadays.
Yeah.
That's a misconception now. But what happens is when you have let's say I build a lip gloss. Let's say I create a lip gloss collection just for the sake of this podcast and this conversation.
Yeah.
And what's going to separate me from having 100 followers on Instagram to somebody who has 1 million followers on Instagram, it's going to be, did I go out there and network? Was I going to events? Was I setting up vendor tables? Was I hiring a professional photographer to take good pictures with good lighting? Was I doing walkthroughs or calling people at L'Oreal to just kind of get input? Was I able to intern? Was I, whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
You're writing better descriptions, working on your website. If you don't know how to do that, do you have money to fix your website? Okay, if you don't have money to fix your website, how can you go make money? I saw Gary Vee the other day talk about people say they don't have money. Go on freaking Craigslist, go find some free furniture, free things that people are giving away. Go pick it up, bring it home, list it, and sell it for $20.
I agree.
Don't be lazy. There's ways to make money. There's ways to make money. And so your brand is going to be based on how much time you put into it, how much effort you put into it.
Yeah.
And lastly, the third thing I want to say is to be real and to be raw and be authentic. Don't try to be like somebody else. Like, I would never go into the makeup business per se, because right now at this moment in time, makeup is not my passion.
Yeah.
Maybe when I've hit my first couple million and I have a little more free time. I love makeup. I worked at MAC Cosmetics for 10 years.
Oh, wow. I didn't
but
know that.
It's not, it was a MAC girl for 10 years. But I love makeup, but right now that is not my passion. That's not how it's feeding that's not what's feeding my dream.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years, I got my show on national television. I have, I'm on Oprah's best readers list.
Yeah.
Things are going a little different for me. Then yeah, if I have time, like maybe I would create a makeup line. But right now, that's not my thing, and I don't have the time for it. So why would I sell myself short?
I agree. These are all good points.
Overall, it's like, if you don't, overall, let me leave it with this on this podcast. If you don't know what your brand is, and if you don't know what your purpose is, get close with God. Ask, Amen. Pray, and you shall receive the message. That little thing that stirs in your stomach, your intuition, as some people call it, I call it your spirit. It's your spirit guide. Listen to it. It's trying to warn you. It's trying to show you. It's trying to guide you. Don't let your fears, don't let your self-doubts walk you away or veer you from what is for you.
For sure.
Most importantly, once you find your brand, once you figure that purpose out, once you start thinking, oh, I like this. Oh, I can make money like this. Oh, wait, I just met this guy who could actually help me. Oh, I just met this lady. Oh, and you start seeing little doors open, continue to go. Those are not coincidences. It is not happening just by luck. That is God guiding you. That's the spirit walking you down to your purpose. Your prayers are being answered. Wow. And then once you realize that, go full throttle. Give it all you can. Invest. Prioritize. Trade your nights out for mornings in on your laptop. Do whatever you can. And you're going to notice that your brand begins to build and the universe starts to work with you. God continues to guide you. And next thing you know, you're like, holy crap, I am the world's best motivational speaker. I'm the best bartender. My hair salon is booming. My lipstick line is popping.
Hey.
And there you go. That's how you build your brand. But
now this is heat. This is heat. And so for me to chime in, just kind of, my thoughts as we were going, when you said something about your mom in the beginning, I think that, anyone listening to this podcast and just having this conversation with Ari, people are so limited in their thinking. And you talk about, I'm going to stick with the first thought. You talked about your mom and you said how she's a brand. A lot of people think just because your mom is good at baking, the only thing that she can sell is baked goods. So what I want to open up is that when you build your brand, there is so many products that you can create that people have a need for. So your mom might have like a special cooking dish that only she knows about. She can go on Alibaba and recreate that dish and get it to the public. She can do a cooking show on YouTube and just shout out products and do it's called affiliate marketing. Create a cookbook. To top it off, she can do pop-ups at restaurants. She can just bake goods and sell them at church. So people are so limited in what they can create from a brand. Right. So by having think about Ari and I'll just talk about me for myself and my brand. I don't really know where my next paycheck's going to come from because I'm the shirt plug. So people hit me for shirts. I've always been able to do stickers, but people are starting to find out I do stickers like these cool little faces. I did one from Ari, which I'll probably use as some of the vocals from this podcast. But I did that so that, hey, I can do stickers. So I could get paid off stickers. I did a speaking engagement. So I can get paid from being a speaker. I did I wrote a book. So these are, I'm not going to, the list could go on and on. I just created a website, an e-commerce website for someone. So by building my brand, I'm able to do all of these things, and all of these things create income for me. But don't get limited to thinking that you're stuck in one lane because you're a baker. There's so many things you can do.
Absolutely. And you just said something super important that just caught my attention is you said it creates income. And while you're building your brand, I always tell people, be confident, but don't be cocky.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of footwork, and I've been in the industry for years and years and years. I remember when Freddie Hot Sauce, shout out to my boy Freddie, hired me to host at Fahrenheit, and you're talking 10 years ago, and paid me $40.
Yeah.
That was my first hosting fee, $40. Now you can't even get me to walk to my kitchen for $40. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, you got to be confident in knowing that you got to take these little baby steps. You know, maybe today they pay $20. Maybe today it's free.
Yep.
But guess what? You get to add it onto your resume. You get the experience. The experience is key, because then when you walk in, you know what you're talking about. You're confident because you know that you've got the experience, and now you can demand a certain type of pay.
Yep.
But in the beginning, when you're building your brand, humble yourself.
Yep.
Start from the bottom up. And that's why a lot of people don't ever even start, because they don't even know how to just do the groundwork. They don't know how to work for free. They're too entitled. They feel too like, I need to be making $100 an hour. That doesn't happen right away. And it might not happen for a few years. So get ready to put the grind, get ready to grind and put the groundwork in. And then you can charge and ask for people for pay.
And I think you touched on, I was talking to one of my coworkers about this yesterday. A lot of people are so focused on take. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Mm-hmm. And the way that I have learned, and the thing that flipped my whole business, was when I learned to not go from take, but what can I give? How can I add value on this podcast? How can I add value to Ari's life? How can I add value to my customer?
Love it.
And that's how you win. And the second thing that you talked about is humbling yourself and volunteer. You talked about creating a hypothetical lipstick line. If I was going to create that line, before I spent the dime, I promise you, I would go and I would try to volunteer for a successful lipstick line. I would even be transparent, like, hey, I eventually want to launch mine. Maybe we could do my first one as a collab with you, but I would love to work for free. There's a real estate out here. I'm learning real estate. I'll work. I was going to just slide in his DM. I have a program, so I'm not going to do it, but I'll just slide in his DM. Hey, I'll work for you for every Saturday for the next 6 months. What do you, I'll do your content. I'll do everything for 4 hours every Saturday. Who's going to win if you go to that guy and say, hey, I want to be a real estate agent, put me on, or you have this kid who said, I'll work for free for 6 months. At the end of that 6 months, who's going to have more game?
Yeah. And guess what though? This is where the people who succeed separate from the people who stay stagnant or stay in their comfort zone the rest of their life, because it's gonna get down to who's gonna wake up on Saturday and go work for free, or who's gonna go out Friday night and turn up and want to sleep in on Saturday because it's their day off.
Yeah, I agree.
You get what I'm saying? There's two different types of people. So yes, build your brand. Here are your tips in building your brand. But first, really be honest with yourself. Are you willing to put the work in for what you just prayed for?
And
are you willing to work for what you want?
You talk about one of my the San Jose State coach. She's a good friend of mine. It's how you guys doing? Just came in. I did church for San Jose State, and the coach just came by. So it's crazy. You never know where you're going to see your network, but I lost my train of thought a little bit, but there's a thing that I wanted to touch on before we got off this call. And you talked about God and you talked about spirit. And what I wanted to touch on is that's what was a game changer for me. When I started giving 10% to my church and attending my church regularly and praying regularly, that's when the game changed for me, because it gives you with religion or with your relationship with God, you realize there's certain principles. A lot of people are scared. God does not give you a spirit of fear. He gives you a spirit of confidence. He gives you a spirit to be able to go out there and accomplish your dreams. He lets you know, when he created earth, it was supposed to be a paradise. He didn't create an earth for you to be timid. He created a place so you can create a paradise for yourself. And so one of the game changers for me has been my spirituality, has been giving 10% to my church. And so that was very powerful. And I actually do remember my train of thought about turning up. And so for you, those of you guys who do like to go out, and those of you guys, and Ari keeps saying, trade in your Saturday night for Friday night for a Saturday morning. So for me, I definitely believe that. But for you that are scared, you don't only have to do that. So if you're going out 4 weekends a month, why don't you just cut it to 2? Why don't you just cut it to 1? You know what I'm saying? Cut it down, or do 1 weekend where you're doing powerful stuff. But I promise you that 1 weekend will be more powerful than those 3 weekends at the club.
Absolutely. I agree.
So, Any other words? How can they find you, Ari? This was super powerful. I'm definitely gonna have to have you back on here again and do another segment. I actually had a dream while we were on this that we one day need to do an event together.
I'm with it. Let me know. Everyone can catch me on everything, on my Twitter, my Instagram. Everything is at I am Arie Rose, IAMARIEROSE. And my books are available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. So you guys can go grab those for the holidays, get them for 2020. The first book is Fight the Funk. The second one is Rising from Within. So make sure to support. And I'm always here for anybody that has any questions or needs some advice. You guys can slide in my DMs. I always check them, and I'm here for the people.
Cool. Thank you. Ari has always been super supportive. Thank you. You can find me on Instagram at Part of the Culture. Just spell normal, Part of the Culture, or you can find me at partoftheculture.com. There's a place where you can just leave comments, but follow me on Instagram. I have free books up there. I have all types of stuff, and all I try to do is add value. This is the Part of the Culture podcast with the legendary Arie Rose. I just want to thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.